Our top focus tonight with the West Asia war raging on. We get you up to speed with the developments coming in. Meanwhile, we tell you more about what the US President Donald Trump has said just in the latest. Also earlier in the day, the message from the United States to Iran to get serious on talks. Also, Kuwait has issued a rare radiation advisory amid growing fears of nuclear contamination after Iran's Bushehr power plant was attacked. All this and more coming up. Also on the show, questions mounting over Israeli interceptor stockpile. We get you the complete story. Human Rights Watch reporting Israeli forces appear to have used white phosphorus munitions over southern Lebanon. All this and more coming up. Weeks into that widening war in West Asia, the region is now on edge like never before, with missiles in the sky and diplomacy struggling to keep pace with escalation on the ground. The future of what lies ahead for the region is uncertain. According to Axios, the Pentagon is reportedly considering a final blow in the West Asia war, a plan that could include ground operations and a massive bombing campaign against Iran. US officials say that if diplomatic talks with Tehran fail, the military could escalate dramatically, with options ranging from invading strategic islands like Karg and Abu Musa to blockading Iranian oil shipments east of the Strait of Hormuz. Let's just break this down further. This comes after Donald Trump, remember, issued a fresh, stark warning to Iran. In his Truth Social post, he said Tehran was begging Washington, even as they deny it publicly. He warned that negotiators in Iran must get serious soon or face consequences. His remarks coming after Iran rejected that peace plan, vowing instead to continue the fight until its demands are met. And just a short while back, President Trump again sharpened his attack on Iran. That was during the cabinet meeting. That was the first cabinet meeting since the start of the war. Listen to this.
Because they didn't make a deal and because they're sick people. They're really sick. They're really sinister, sick people. And if anybody thinks it was okay to have a group of people like this to have nuclear capability, nuclear weapons, and if we didn't attack with the B-2 bombers, they would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks of that, maybe 4 weeks. But between 2 and 4 weeks, they were planning to have a nuclear weapon. If we didn't hit them at that time.
Meanwhile, this is what the regional players have been saying. The Gulf Cooperation Council making it clear that its member states want a seat at the negotiation table. GCC arguing that they did not join any military action against Iran, and that closure of the Hormuz Strait and Iran's imposing a fee for the crucial waterway is a clear violation of international law. GCC went on to say that such actions have crossed all red lines. Adding another layer, Ukraine's president, meanwhile, revealing that multiple countries in West Asia, including Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, Bahrain, have reached out for air defense support, he says. Zelensky also said Ukrainian teams are already on the ground. in some countries, sharing expertise in countering Iranian-style drone and missile attacks. And he warned that even advanced systems like Patriot are not enough without real combat experience and modern interceptors. From diplomacy to full-scale war footing, the conflict is now playing out across multiple fronts. The US escalated its military actions, struck targets near Bandar Abbas in southern Iran, in fact. The video released by the US Central Command showing the attacks, Washington claims it has hit more than 10,000 targets in Iran. The head of the US Central Command saying a vast majority of Iran's naval fleet has been destroyed, along with large portions of its missile, drone, and military production capacity, something which they have been claiming for quite some time now. Meanwhile, Iran is not backing down either. Tehran has intensified attacks on Israel and Gulf states, insisting it did not start the war and will continue until its conditions are met. Jordan saying it intercepted 3 Iranian missiles in just 24 hours, with debris causing damage but no casualties. Israel, meanwhile, has expanded its offensive, carrying out strikes inside Iran, including in the central city of Isfahan, where it claims to have targeted regime infrastructure and military production sites. Israeli military also claimed to have killed Ali Reza, the naval commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which Iran is yet to confirm.
We continue to vigorously attack the targets of the Iranian terrorist regime. Last night, we eliminated the commander of the Revolutionary Guard's Navy. This man has a lot of blood on his hands, and he is also the one who led the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. This is another example of the cooperation between us and our friend, the United States, in the common goal of achieving the goals of the war.
And the human cost of the war also mounting. In Iran, more than 1,500 people have been killed, over 21,000 injured. That's the map telling you more about the numbers and where they stand. Lebanon, meanwhile, has seen over 1,000 dead, thousands injured, dozens killed in Iraq. Israel has reported 25 dead and thousands injured. American forces have also taken casualties with 13 dead. Across Kuwait, UAE, Syria, Oman, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Jordan, casualties continue to rise, with civilians caught in the crossfire. All right, getting you the latest now, coming in on that cabinet meeting we just told you about, U.S. President Donald Trump.
We're packed, and sometimes we take from one and we use for another. We helped Ukraine. Biden started, and he gave $350 billion away, too much, way too much. And we sell it now to NATO. We sell it to NATO, and they probably give it to Ukraine, mostly, I think. They give it to Ukraine, but we get paid for everything that we give. We don't give anything anymore. That's a tough situation, that whole Ukraine situation, very, very tough. We're working very hard on getting that one solved. It doesn't have any impact on us, virtually nothing. In fact, if anything, we sell a lot of equipment for that unfortunate war. 25,000 people died last month, 25,000, mostly soldiers. Some in the towns, but for the most part soldiers. They're dying. Nobody's seen anything like it since World War II. It's a terrible situation, and hopefully that's going to get settled. I settled 8 wars, and many of them I think were more difficult than this one. In theory, they were more difficult, but there's tremendous hatred between President Putin and President Zelensky. Tremendous hatred. I've seen it before, but I've never seen it maybe to this extent. And I think that's calming down a little bit, and I think we have a chance of getting it done. But it doesn't affect us thousands of miles away. That's why when I heard the head of Germany say, "This is not our war," about Iran, I said, well, Ukraine's not our war. We helped, but Ukraine's not our war. I thought it was a very inappropriate statement to make, but he made it. You can't erase it. But he felt that way. I said, well, Ukraine's not our war. And it's not, but I would like to see all those young people stop being killed. I mean, they're being killed. It's like a slaughterhouse. What's happening there is horrible. 25,000 on average. 2 months ago, it was 31,000 people died in 1 month, Marco, right? I said, it's getting crazy. It's getting worse. Think of it, 31,000 soldiers, both Russian and Ukraine, died 2 months ago, 25,000 last month. And if I can solve that, it would be a great honor to do it. I wish it could have gone faster. I solved other ones in 1 day that had been going for 32 years. We stopped one that was starting. It was already started. India and Pakistan, and the Prime Minister of Pakistan, a very fine gentleman, said President Trump solved something that was going to cost 10 million lives. That was going to cost a lot of lives, 2 nuclear nations. And those were complicated, but we got them done quickly. This one is, it's a shame. And the only reason I'm doing it, frankly, is because I want to stop death. I want to stop the death from happening. I think I'm going to go with a man that I've missed, Brian. I haven't seen you in a long time. I miss you. He's been in a very strange location. I don't know. He's had a strange thing happen. But anyway, go ahead, bro.
Well, good to see you too. Actually, good to see the entire cabinet here. Linda, good to see you too. You talked about gas prices coming down.
Yes.
Obviously, they will. But would you ever consider suspending the federal gas tax in order to kind of temporarily alleviate some?
Well, some people should do that. As an example, in California, every time prices go down, his prices go up because the gas tax is bigger than the tax itself, bigger than the product itself. It hasn't. I mean, we've thought about it, I guess, but honestly, when I did this, I knew it was going to be a little bit. We had the greatest economy ever. We had the greatest stock market in history. I said, we're going to take a little bit of a hit, a short-term hit. It's going to end up going much higher than it was, in my opinion. I said we're going to have a great stock market. Nobody thought we could get to 50,000 or 7,000 in the respective indices. Nobody thought that was going to happen, but it did in the first year. They said it couldn't happen in 4 years, that you wouldn't hit 50 in 4 years, but you could maybe get close. We hit it in the first year. And I said, this is a good time to solve a problem that you had to solve. And that's what I did. But the gas tax, people have talked about it. It's something we have in our pocket if we think it's necessary.
And if I can follow real quickly, you just recently took off, Secretary Duffy, 17,000 truckers off the road that quite frankly could not speak English, which is a safety issue.
Yeah.
Could we ever extend that to Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, cab drivers, for someone who takes a lot of Ubers? A lot of my drivers can't speak
Oh, well, that's not good. I didn't like that. Go ahead, John.
So that's a really good point. The problem is that our states are the ones that issue these licenses. So with commercial driver's licenses, we do have some federal control. But again, we have thousands of people who can't speak the language, long-standing rule, and it's a safety issue, right? If you can't understand road signs, if you can't communicate with law enforcement when you're pulled over and communicate what's on your rig, huge problem. But the last administration, Mr. President, they let truck driving schools self-certify that they were qualified to train truck drivers. And so this is like the Leering Center. So you pay $800 and you get a certificate that you passed a CDL driving school, and again, they have no skills. They don't have the knowledge, and they don't have the skills. They haven't gone through any of the testing. And then they get licenses, and they're killing Americans on our roads. So it's remarkable, the rot that the last administration allowed to take place. We are ending that, and I need partnership with our states. Even California started to come on board. Even Gavin has started to play ball with us, which is surprising. Not all the way, a little bit of ball.
Mr. President,
You know, it's interesting because I just saw something that the nursing home business and the daycare centers in particular, they went out and inspected them in Minnesota, and they didn't exist. They're knocking on the door. He happens to be a young man, Nick, nice young man. He's done a very good job. They're knocking on doors. It's like homes. And they're getting hundreds of thousands of that. They didn't exist. And in California, it's worse. It's even worse. And I spoke with Russell Vogt. I said, Russell, don't send them any money. He said, but we have a court order that we have to. Can you believe it? A judge. The judges are really hurting this country. Our judges, Justice Roberts doesn't like when I say it, but the judges are really hurting this country. And frankly, the justices, the Supreme Court, has really hurt our country too.
Mr.
President, do you have a new deadline, given that there are some talks now? Do you have a new deadline before taking?
No, I'll announce it. I mean, right now, you're talking about a deadline for doing some pretty big damage, even bigger than we've done. We'll see. Look, we have very substantial talks going on with respect to Iran, with the right people. You know, I told you about a present, right? Steve, can I reveal the present?
You can do anything you want.
Thank you. They said to show you the fact that we're real and solid and we're there, we're going to let you have 8 boats of oil, 8 boats, 8 big boats of oil. This was 2 days ago. And they'll sail up tomorrow. That was 3 days ago. And I didn't think much about it. And then I watched the news and they said, a very good anchor actually, happened to be Fox, but I watched it and he said, something's unusual happening. There are 8 boats that are going right up the middle of the Hormuz Strait. 8 big tankers are going loaded up with oil right through. And I said, well, I guess they were right, and they were real. And I think they were Pakistani flagged.
Yes.
And I said, well, I guess we're dealing with the right people. And actually, they then apologized for something they said, and they said, we're going to send 2 more boats. And it ended up being 10 boats. All right. I hope I haven't screwed up your negotiations, but I thought it was appropriate to say, because I did taunt you the other day by saying they're going to give us a present.
Mr.
Yeah,
President, there were 2 illegal immigrants who were arrested at San Francisco airport for ignoring deportation orders. At the same time, as you highlighted, really great reception from American travelers for ICE agents. Is there a PR aspect of this that can allow future deportations to go on with less protesting, less outrage?
Yeah, it's amazing, because by putting ICE there, look, the press was very unfair to ICE. So was everyone else. These are great American patriots. They have a tough job. They have to find murderers and take them out of our country. I wouldn't want to do it. You wouldn't want to do it. Most people wouldn't want to do it. They do it. And, 11,888 murderers. And that's murderers. That's not drug dealers. That's not lots of other things. It's not people from mental institutions. Entire jail populations were released from major countries and let into our country through the open border. And ICE has done an amazing job. I wouldn't want that job. It's a tough job, dangerous job. So what happens is, by putting them at the airport, and I just say, do me a favor, take off your masks. And they did. For that, not for when they're looking for some, cold-blooded killers and they're in the, but for that. And they did. They took them off. And the passengers, I see the interviews of people, they're saying, these are nice people. One person said, he's a very strong man, but he's a nice guy. He grabbed my bag. He helped the woman with a bag that she couldn't lift. And I'll tell you, I don't want to use the word rehab because there was nothing to rehab, but rehab from the press, because the press is so tough on them. And these crooks in Minnesota, these crooked politicians and dirty cops. They're dirty cops, they're dirty politicians. Waltz is a dirty, crooked politician. The Attorney General is a crooked guy. He's no investigations, and I hope JD's going to do a great job. He's in charge of it now with somebody who's very talented. But I think it's easy stuff. They say $19 billion, think of it, is missing. $19 billion. You know, if we would solve half of the fraud problem, Pam, in this country, we would have more than a balanced budget. We'd have a surplus. And in the case of Minnesota, it's very Somalia-oriented. Think of it, these people come from a crooked country, disgusting country, one of the worst countries in the world. Acknowledged to be one of the worst countries in the world. Some people say it's the worst. They have no money, they have nothing. They come to our country, low IQs, and they rob us blind. Stupid people. And they rob us blind. Because we have crooked politicians, and we have dirty cops. The Attorney General's a dirty cop. It's my opinion. It's only my opinion. And something should be done about him. Let's see what kind of job he
Mr.
can
President,
do.
yesterday you said that you hate mail-in ballots.
Excuse me?
Should Iran be able to charge a toll for the Strait of Hormuz? They're charging some vessels to go through.
Oh, yeah. Well, should they be able to? I mean, they shouldn't be able to, but they're doing it a little bit.
All right, so you've been listening into what US President Donald Trump is saying as part of that first cabinet meeting since the start of the Iran war, making categorical statements about where things stand right now. And as we continue to monitor those developments, let's also tell you about what else has been happening on the ground.
President of the United States, I did a mail-in ballot for elections that took place in Florida, because I felt I should be here instead of being in the beautiful sunshine
But
taking.
you were in Palm Beach, sir, the last few weekends.
That's right, and I decided that I was going to vote by mail-in ballot because I couldn't be there because I had a lot of different things. But you know, we have exceptions for mail-in ballots. You do know that, right? So if you're away, we have an exception. If you're in the military, we have an exception. If you're on a business trip, we have an exception. If you're disabled, we have an exception. And if you're ill, if you're not feeling good, whatever. So I was away, mostly in Washington, D.C., so I used a mail-in ballot. But I appreciate the question because I know it was so well-meaning. Yeah.
Mr. President, I actually just looked up the company that owns Sharpie, and they stopped turning positive after you mentioned it. Question on your end.
By the way, they deserve it.
Yeah, question on
It's a
your
good
end.
product.
So you gave a 5-day deadline. With oil tankers going through the Strait of Hormuz, is that a condition to move that 5-day deadline?
Well, we don't want anything impeded. We want ships to go through. We don't know that they've dropped any mines, by the way, because we blew up all their mine droppers, right? We blew up every one of them. They're going to have to take them out on a rowboat or something. I don't know how the hell they get out there, but we don't really know. You might speak to it. We don't know. There could be a few of them out there, but that's a lot. You know, if you have $1 billion ship and you get hit by a mine, it's not the greatest thing in the world. So if you think, the problem with that, that's not like you've decimated a military. If you think there may be a mine, that's a bad thought, and it stops things up. How are we doing in that regard, Peter?
Mr. President, you're right. We have so heavily degraded their coastal defense capabilities and their naval capabilities that any strategic or operational attempts to do those types of things are extremely limited. And we continue to move over the top of that. Now, whether Iran makes a wise choice or not to try to execute that is part of how this deal comes together. But with every passing day, the military pressure that we're putting on them lessens their ability to really hold that militarily at issue.
I mean, the problem with the issue of the Hormuz Straits is this. We've decimated them as a military. No Air Force, no Navy, very few rockets left. We blew up so many. Hard to manufacture them. Same thing with drones. The leadership is gone. The problem with the Straits is this. Let's say we do a great job. We say we got 99%. 1% is unacceptable because 1% is a missile going into the hull of a ship that cost $1 billion, right? So 1% is we can't. If we do a 99% decimation, that's no good.
So how is your coalition then?
So it's really, you know, a little bit. But I have a feeling it's going to clean up pretty quickly.
How close are you to-
I could just say this: they want to make, and I probably hurt our little negotiation. It gives them a little impetus to say, well, I wish you didn't say that. But they said yesterday that we weren't negotiating with them, and now they admit that we were negotiating with them. So they want to make a deal. The reason they want to make a deal is they have been just beat to shit.
So the
Are you
President
thinking of taking control of Iran's oil?
It's an option. I mean, I wouldn't talk about it, but it's an option.
Is that something you thought about?
Well, in Venezuela, we've done very well working with Venezuela, certainly. And we've taken in billions and billions of dollars. And by the way, Venezuela is doing better right now than they've ever done in the history of their country. And it's sort of like a joint venture. But the United States has made a lot of money, Marco, right? With it. Do you want to talk about that for a second?
About Venezuela?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Venezuela in the first 2 months of this year generated more revenue from oil sales than they had most of all of last year. But the money's not being stolen anymore. And it's being held in a U.S. Treasury blocked account. And to the extent it's flowing to the Venezuelan government, it's going to help people, like fund hospitals, pay teachers. It's not
And we
being
get a
stolen.
lot of it. And they got more than they have in many years. Think of it. We get a lot of it. We have a deal. We get a lot of it. We had 100 million, think of this, 100 million barrels we took in the first 2 weeks. 100 million barrels. That's a lot of oil. It's a lot of ships. And we got some and they got some. We paid for the ships. A lot of money left over. And Venezuela has done better now with us. Call it a partner, call it whatever you want. We've made a lot of money, and they've made a lot of money. We've paid for the cost of that military hit many, many times over. And we've only just started. Our relationship with Venezuela has been amazing. The people, actually, I'm the highest polling person. In other words, after the presidency, I think I may go to Venezuela and run for president against Elsie. I may run against Elsie. It's an option. No, they like me in Venezuela, but it's an option for me. It's a wonderful option. Yes.
There's some reports that Gulf allies are concerned about winding down the war too soon and potentially leaving Iran.
Well, they'd probably like us to stay, but
the concern
if we don't stay, look, it's a beautiful thing about airplanes that go 2,000 miles an hour is you can get back there very quickly. If we don't stay, we're going to be protecting them. We know, they've been very good. Hey, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, in particular, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, the three of them, Kuwait, Bahrain, they've been 100%. Now, in all fairness, they could have gone the other way. They were surprisingly missiled. They were shot at. Nobody ever thought they'd be shot at. UAE had 1,400 missiles aimed at them. Fortunately, they had the greatest anti-missile weapon in history called the Patriot. Almost every single missile was shot down. We had an incident recently where 101 missiles were shot at a certain thing that we own. It's very valuable. 101 missiles going 2,000 miles an hour. Out of the 101 missiles, every single one of them was shot down in midair and fell into the ocean. It's amazing technology. There's nobody has equipment like we have.
Is it even possible that Iran still has that enriched uranium? Is it even possible?
Well,
to
you're going to have to see, but I think we're in just very good shape. We're roaming. You know what we're doing? You know the word roaming free? We're over their skies with the most beautiful planes you've ever seen. Roaming free, there's not a damn thing they can do about it. And it would be nice if, like the fake news New York Times, which writes so fake, and the Wall Street Journal is terrible, terrible. I mean, I read a story today that I'm desperate to make a deal. If I was desperate, he'd be the first to know. Pete, let's get the hell out of there. I'm the opposite of desperate. I don't care. I want to know. In fact, we have other targets we want to hit before we leave. We're hitting them on a daily basis. No, I don't talk about you. I can't talk about specifics. A lot of people say that wouldn't matter. Maybe it does matter. Who knows? But I wouldn't talk. It's like the question this young lady asked. Sorry about I embarrassed her. I don't want to embarrass you because I think I think she's a friendly reporter, so I'm sorry. But I can't say what we're going to do because if I did, I wouldn't be sitting here for long. They'd probably, what is it called, the 25th Amendment? They'd institute the 25th Amendment, which they didn't do with Biden, which is shocking.
The President is safe enough to leave the region, because Steve said that they've got enough uranium to make 11 bombs. That's a very scary thing. So,
Well, it's again, I can't talk to you about that. You're asking me a question. You're essentially saying, will I go in and do something? I can't talk to you about that.
Mr. President, you're looking at a coalition of ships to help, warships to help
Yeah.
protect tankers. How close are you to getting that coalition?
Well, we have a coalition for them, but they should have been up here a long time ago. And you know, they're affected. The amazing thing is we don't need the Hormuz Strait. We don't need it. We don't need it at all. We have so much oil. Our country is not affected by this. We have twice the amount of oil as Saudi Arabia or Russia, and soon it'll be 3 times the amount. Chris, do you want to speak to that for a second?
Yeah, that's correct. Our total oil production is greater than Saudi Arabia's plus Russia, and more than we consume in the United States. So we're the largest.
Pretty
yeah,
good.
pretty.
You know, you know what they call it? Drill, baby, drill.
Mr. President.
Can I do another topic? Anything else you want to say?
Well, and same thing for natural gas. We went, before your first term, we were the largest exporter of natural gas in the world. Today we're just by far the largest, we were the largest importer, now we're by far the largest exporter, and it's growing rapidly this year. New facilities are coming online, new production's ramping up.
We're doing an amazing job. We get a lot of help from that man right over there. He's getting approvals done quickly and very environmental. He's an environmentalist, actually. He does a great job, but he gives you a fast approval or rejection. Do you have anything to say?
Well, back on Venezuela, where Chris and I have both had a chance to be there, I literally think they're going to put a statue to President Trump. And I'm not being, it's not a political statement, it's an actual thing.
It's like they view President Trump like Simon Bowler. He's the liberator of a country, and this is a country where they love American baseball. You look on the street, they're wearing NBA jerseys, and Delcy and her team working with us, getting back. Chris and I both experienced, it was the first time in Venezuelan history that they had the free press allowed to come on to essentially where the White House, the Palacio Miraflores, and it was an emotional thing for people that had been for 20 years had never had a chance to be there. So whether it's and then production, it's showing up in production. The American companies that are coming back, most of those American companies have many American Venezuelan team members. One company in Houston's got 600 Venezuelan Americans that know more about reviving that industry. So their GDP is 1/4 of what it was before. They want to get back. They remember what it was. Their production on oil production is climbing towards 50% increase just in the 3 months we've been here. That flows to American refineries on the Gulf Coast, lowering the price of gas in America. So it's a
forget that. When are they going to do the statue? The hell with you.
Thank you. You've been really honest about how disappointed you are in Sir Keir Starmer, particularly in relation to Iran. So I'm curious about your phone calls with him, how easy they might be. And also, were you surprised by...
Are we talking about Starmer?
Yes. And are you surprised by how weak...
I think he's a lovely man. I do. I think he's a lovely man. But I think he did something that was shocking. He didn't want to help us. And maybe in particular that country, we were the longest bond, the longest ally. Australia too. Australia was not great. I was a little surprised by Australia. I wouldn't say anybody was great other than the 5 countries in the Middle East. We never really had very much support. We spend trillions of dollars supporting countries, and this is Little League. This isn't the big league deal. This is sort of Little League pool for us. Look, we decimated them in a period of a week. In the first week it was over. In the first few days it was over. I think the Navy took us 3 days to essentially annihilate it. They weren't there. So if there's ever a big one, which I hope there's not, but if there's ever a big one, I don't think they're going to be there. And that's not fair. And we have to remember that as a country, because we spend trillions of dollars protecting Europe, protecting the countries of NATO. They weren't there for us. For small time. This is small time. You know what? Venezuela is a big deal, but it's not the big one. They weren't there So what makes you think they'd be there if we needed them for something? And your prime minister was not there, as you know. He was there after we won. He said, we'd like to send some ships. I said, we already won. We don't need them anymore.
But can you explain why he was reluctant to help?
Why what?
Why he was reluctant to help with Iran?
He didn't have to. I didn't ask him. I just said, just tell me no. I mean, we're always going to be there, or at least we were. I don't know about anymore, to be honest with you. I would have to be honest. We were always there when they needed help. We always would have been there when they needed help. I mean, think of it. We're there to protect Europe from Russia.
All right. Strong statements being given out by U.S. President Donald Trump on the West Asia war as a part of that briefing coming in after the first cabinet meeting that has taken place after the West Asia war started. Meanwhile, let's also give you a sense of what's been happening on the ground as the West Asia war continues to rage on. Kuwait has issued a rare radiation advisory amid growing fears of nuclear contamination. Kuwait's National Guard issued a video message cautioning residents about radiation exposure a day after Iran's Bushehr power plant was attacked. While stressing that people need not panic, it advised them to remain indoors, avoid unnecessary movement outside, and keep all windows and doors sealed in case of any radiation leaks. Now, why is this particularly significant? The Bushehr nuclear power plant is Iran's first and only operational nuclear power facility. Reportedly, it is located nearly 240 kilometers away from Kuwait, making it the closest nuclear reactor near the country. However, Kuwait's National Guard stressing that most radioactive material would fade away before reaching Kuwait's borders if there is a leak from the Bushehr plant. And on Tuesday, a projectile hit the premises of the Bushehr nuclear power plant. Remember, Russia, which operates the facility, claimed that the plant's pumping station came under attack while around 300 staff members remained on the site. At least 163 others have been evacuated to Russia, reportedly.
The pumping station is not just any facility. It is a critical safety element of the nuclear power plant. Water supply is a key safety factor for any energy facility, especially a nuclear one. This is a signal that the red lines are shifting and that real safety risks are now emerging.
Now, this is not the first such occasion that the attack has taken place there. On the 17th of March, the International Atomic Energy Agency confirmed that a structure located 350 meters from the Bushehr plant was hit and destroyed. And in the initial days of the war, 2 buildings close to the Isfahan nuclear site were damaged in Israeli-US strikes. The entrance of the underground Natanz fuel enrichment plant also suffered damage. The situation escalated on the 21st of March when Iran accused the US and Israel of launching an attack on the Natanz facility. While no radioactive leaks occurred, retaliatory action followed. And on the very same day, Iranian missiles managed to breach Israel's air defense systems and struck Dimona, which is believed to host a nuclear facility, reportedly. At least 64 people were injured in this attack. The seriousness of the situation is also resonating globally. Earlier this week itself, the WHO chief flagged an escalating threat to public health and environmental safety. He stressed that the war has reached a perilous stage. In fact, the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights also has warned of an unmitigated catastrophe, quote unquote.
Recent missile strikes near nuclear sites in both Israel and Iran underscore the immense danger of further escalation. States are flirting with unmitigated catastrophe.
The Bab al-Mandeb Strait could become the next focal point in the West Asia war and a fresh trigger for global fuel concerns. Iran has warned that it could block the crucial waterway which controls sea traffic towards the Suez Canal if the US and Israel escalate the war further by targeting its islands, including Karg Island. Local media reports saying Iran is closely monitoring the situation and could take action on the waterway if the US or Israel inflict further costs on the country. With Iran already exerting influence over the Strait of Hormuz, through which nearly a fifth of the world's oil is shipped, any disruption at the Bab el-Mandeb Strait would significantly worsen the economic impact of this war. The strait, lying between the Arabian Peninsula and the Horn of Africa, bordered by Yemen, Djibouti, and Eritrea, that's where it is on the map, though only about 30 kilometers wide. The narrow passage is one of the world's most strategically vital maritime choke points. Ships traveling between Asia and Europe must pass through this corridor to access the Suez Canal, the fastest maritime route between the two continents. In fact, around 10 to 12% of the world's seaborne petroleum and refined products flowing through this strait. And this makes it the world's fourth largest shipping route. About 4.2 million barrels per day transited the strait in the first half of 2025. The passage carries not just crude oil and liquefied natural gas, but also manufactured goods and food shipments between major global markets. In simple terms, any disruption here would send out immediate ripples across energy markets, global shipping, and consumer prices worldwide. And as Iran continues to fire waves of missiles and rockets towards Israel, Israel is feeling the impact, of course. Those were visuals from damages Israel claims were caused by Iranian missile in Haifa, and now hard questions have been surfacing. Not just about the damage on the ground, but also about whether one of the world's most advanced air defense systems is being pushed to its limit. So what you are seeing now is the aftermath of cluster munition strikes in central Israel, a far more dangerous weapon. These warheads basically burst mid-air, scattering multiple submunitions across wide areas instead of one impact point. And they create multiple strike zones, making defense far more difficult and far more deadly, potentially exposing cracks in air defense systems. The intensity of Iran's strikes is likely to be forcing Israel and even the United States to confront a serious question. Are their interceptor stockpiles sufficient for a prolonged war? A very crucial question right now. In fact, Israel's defense network is layered and sophisticated, Iron Dome handling short-range rockets, David Sling targeting heavier missiles. Arrow 2 and Arrow 3 intercept long-range ballistic threats. But even the best systems have limits, of course. And data from Tel Aviv University's Institute of National Security Studies showing that around 380 Iranian ballistic missiles have already targeted Israel, and Iran still has firepower left. Estimates suggesting that at the start of the war, Tehran had up to 2,500 ballistic missiles, and even now, around 1,000 may still remain reportedly. These missiles are not just numbers, of course. They can be launched from mobile trucks, or hidden underground silos, giving Iran the ability to keep striking even as its stockpile shrinks. And for Israel, the challenge is becoming strategic increasingly. Does it use interceptors freely or conserve them to protect critical sites like Dimona, home to a sensitive nuclear facility reportedly? The pressure is not just on Israel, of course. The United States is also feeling the strain. Let's break this down. According to a US Congress study, in just 4 days of Operation Epic Fury, US Patriot systems defending Gulf states fired 943 interceptors, almost equal to what American factories produce in 18 months. Just for the sake of comparison, THAAD systems designed for high-altitude interceptions are also being used heavily, and their stocks, of course, are limited. The US congressional report warning it could take between 3 to 8 years to rebuild THAAD inventories. 3 to 8 years. Now, the Pentagon is racing against time, pushing defense companies and Lockheed Martin, among others, to quadruple the production of THAAD seekers. But production takes time, of course, and on the battlefield, time is a luxury neither side has at this point. The real test is perhaps no longer just about defense systems. It could be about endurance. A direct claim, a measured response, and a nuclear-powered carrier at the center of it all. Iran saying it struck USS Abraham Lincoln, Pentagon remaining silent, says the warship remains operational. The other aircraft carrier, meanwhile, USS Gerald R. Ford, forced to leave the battlefield, the battle zone, after an onboard fire. So what really is happening on the ground right now with these developments? Our next report breaking it down.
Waves crash. Tension explodes in the Arabian Sea. A US supercarrier faces its ultimate test. Iran boasts it has hammered the USS Abraham Lincoln with missiles. It releases video of missile launch, explosions lit the night. But no proof of actual impact. Hours later, CENTCOM breaks the silence only to confirm Abraham Lincoln remains fully operational. No denial of the attack, it says the carrier group powers on. F-35 jets roaring off the deck, eyes locked on Iran. The USS Abraham Lincoln is one of the most advanced aircraft carriers in service. Designed for long endurance, the $6.8 billion warship is powered by 2 nuclear reactors and carries about 6,000 personnel. It carries dozens of aircraft, fighters, surveillance jets, and support systems. A floating airbase with strike capability across vast distances. Even under sustained deployment, it can continue operations for extended periods. Missions can be rotated, air wings can be sustained, logistics chains keep it active far from home. For years, Iranian forces have repeatedly warned that American carriers are not untouchable. Iranian military commanders have often claimed their missile and drone arsenal is capable of sinking an aircraft carrier operating close to Iranian waters. Right now, the pressure is building on US naval assets. Another carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, is currently out of action after an onboard fire. it has been forced to leave the operational zone, reducing immediate carrier availability in the region. This leaves the USS Abraham Lincoln carrying more weight in an already tense environment. Iran's claim, even if unverified, is part of a broader signaling strategy. It projects reach, it tests response, it keeps the pressure on the US forces. It's a race against time and fatigue. The crew is pushed to the limit, the machinery is strained, and the enemy is watching. The USS Abraham Lincoln remains operational for now, but in a war of attrition, even the most powerful weapon systems have a breaking point. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Mystery posts from the White House fueling a wave of online speculation about a series of strange and unexplained videos appearing on its official social media handles. Strange videos, distorted audio, zero explanation. Social media users have been asking what's really going on. Our next report decoding this for you.
It began with mysterious clips. A dark screen, a sharp notification sound, and distorted glitch-like visuals posted from the White House's official accounts on X and Instagram. The confusion deepened when another clip surfaced briefly showing what appeared to be a woman's feet with a voice saying, "It's launching soon, right?" Before disappearing and later deleted. The unusual nature of the content quickly caught attention. Social media reacted instantly, with many asking if this was a security breach, a glitch, or something more deliberate. Users questioning whether the account had been hacked. The timing of these posts has also raised questions, as this comes amid all-out war in West Asia. But despite the online frenzy, there is no confirmation of any security breach so far. But the question remains, what was the purpose? What message is being conveyed by this cryptic message?
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching.
Five states, one powerful voice.
From Tamil Nadu to West Bengal.
Kerala to Assam. Every vote shapes the future. Get the election pulse only on WION. A global leaders' confluence. 7 dynamic sessions. Capture the pulse of decision makers, innovators, and policymakers. Celebrating the game-changing icons. All on one mega platform. Watch the highlights of WION World Pulse, the rhythm of the new world order.
YO1 Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to YO1 Health Resort. Make your reservation at yo1.com.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is One. Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes. And millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Beyond the noise and rhetoric, no election, no ballot issue too small. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. More than just headlines. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power, only on WION. World is One.
In West Asia, every move shifts the world's balance. Wars, ceasefires, alliances, power never stands still. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Damascus to Doha, the West Asia Post cuts through the chaos to reveal the region that shapes the world. Because what happens in West Asia